Let's go further. You understood that there are these 5 steps we extensively use when we are providing solutions. I will take you through each of these steps and show you what all the activities we do to come up with new idea. Yeah? This presentation is all about making you understand these steps. So when you are working in the field, you would be applying some of these tools to arrive at solutions. First thing first, as I said, it's a design thinking methodology. In the industry, people know this as a human-centered design thinking. By now, you all are familiar with these 5 stages: empathy, define, ideate, prototype, test. Empathy, define, ideate, prototype, test. I will be repeating certain things more often. Don't get bored, because until unless we don't repeat them, it doesn't become part of our conscious. Just remember these 5 words. So let me discuss with you each of these steps in detail. Empathy, just understand as a research, understanding consumers. Yeah. So how do you understand consumers? If you want to know consumers, for example, if you're designing a new shoes, now you need to understand the shoe users. Those are your consumers. So how do you understand them? You go and talk to them. You take their interview. You ask a bunch of questions. You make a questionnaires. So the one way you can do that is a user's interview. There's another method called empathy mapping. Okay. So you don't need to ask questions. You go and observe. Like, for example, if you are designing a sports shoes for athletes, now you go and observe in the sports stadium or a sports institution while people are engaged in the sports activities. And those are your prospective customers who will be using your sports shoes. Just observe them while they are using their own existing shoes and learn from that. Yeah, that's an empathy mapping. As I said, interview, you can talk one-on-one, one to many. So you all might have familiar with interviewing and understanding what your customers want. Survey, interview, interactions. There is a method when you are interviewing. So you have to write questions, you have to ask questions. There are these methods which we follow. Very quickly, I'll tell you. For example, if you're writing 10 questions, maybe initial 3 questions, you keep it open-ended. Okay, what do I mean? For example, you want to do research for sports shoes. Your first question should not be, hey, which sports shoe do you like? That should not be your first question. Your first question is supposed to be, hey, when did you develop interest in sports? The second question would be, how does sports make you feel? Third question would be, are there anybody at your home who are pursuing sports as a career? So these are open-ended questions. They are nothing to do with shoes, but they everything to do with the sports and his likes or her likes or dislikes. It's basically asking these open-ended questions. Once you ask 3 questions, now you can have 3 more questions which are towards the product. Here you can ask, hey, do you believe that shoes helps you to perform better? Do you think what kind of shoes will help you to perform much better than the regular shoes? And why do you think that Nike comes up with a nicer product most of the time compared to other brands? So these kind of questions you can ask around the subject. Here in our case, our subject matter is shoes, sports shoes. And remaining 3 questions, you can narrow it down. You can very specifically ask, hey, Would you like a thicker sole shoes or a thinner sole shoes? Would you like a lace shoes or Velcro shoes? Would you like gray color shoes or red color shoes? You can ask yes and no questions, very specific questions you can ask. So you got it. Three questions, which are open ended questions like love for sports. Then you come to the topic, which is shoes, sports shoes. Then you narrow it down, likes and dislikes. That's how 3, 3, 3, you might have a 9 questions. So that's the structure for interview question structure. So likewise, you can have another structure. You can have these 3 columns: likes, hate, and dreams. So you can ask that, hey, what do you like about your current shoes? You can write what you hate about your shoes, what you're wearing, and what is that most admired or expectation you have from these shoes or shoes per se. So you can write down those pointers. So these are the interview methods you apply to carry out interview and understand the user. As I said, first stage is all about interview and understand. Now, the second stage is you try to define. You have to define 2 things. Who is your target audience and what is that problem they are facing? For example, you are designing shoes for football. Now you have to create a user persona who wants to pursue a professional football career. That guy become your user. Yeah. Maybe age between, it starts from 16 to 26. That's an age group. You have to identify who's your audience, age, gender, likes and dislikes, philosophy, or what they admire. The second aspect is a problem statement. Like as a footballer, what is the thing is missing? In the sense, there are good number of companies making a football shoes, but he's still not satisfied with those shoes. So you have to understand what is that he is looking for. So once you realize your product could be innovated around that problem statement. So a user is a footballer. He needs good shoes, well gripped shoe, which has got a great grip, and he wants to be a good footballer. That's the reason he practices every day. So third one is, as I said, ideation. You come up with new idea. So to ideate, there are methods. Mind mapping. I think some of you are heard about mind mapping. And then there is another ideating method called Scamper. What exactly it is, we will look into with some examples. Mind mapping, everybody knows. You keep your topic in the center and then you start jotting down all the ideas which are associated around the subject. That's how you elaborate and you collect all the information regarding that particular topic. This is the second technique, Scamper. S stands for substitute, C stands for combine, A stands for adapt, M stands for modify, P stands for put to another use, E for eliminate, R for reserve. Okay, I'll just show with you some examples. This is interesting. Yeah, this is all very useful for you guys. Substitute, in the sense you have to change. There is something currently, you have to substitute, you have to change it with something else. And this image you can see in McDonald's cashier counter. People are standing in queue, a long queue, placing their order basically. So there is a problem, isn't it? Like there's a huge crowd waiting to get their turn. So what is that you substitute this cashier so that people might find it much more easy? Here you can see the solution. Problem is a human taking money and giving it back. And here they have a digital kiosk. Now you don't need a cashier or the person who is taking order. You can order through this kiosk and you pay through the kiosk. So you substitute this person with this machine, so you solve the problem. C for combination. You combine with your existing product. Watch, everybody know, but you don't buy just watch. Nowadays, you don't need watch because now I can see time in my mobile. So how do you make watch engaging? So you combine certain feature in the watch and you make it a much more user friendly. In this case, what they combined, watch and fitness today. Yeah. So look at watch is not just a watch, it is a fitness machine. It helps you to read your pulse and it'll tell you how many steps you walked. So watch combined with the fitness features, it become much more adorable, isn't it? Got the point. They took a watch, they combined the fitness features into it, it become interesting, innovative product. The third one is adapt. Just take a look at, very interesting. Isn't it so interesting? It is a simple bag. Generally, you have to pull it or carry it. So they added this another feature. They added, adapted to one more purpose to, in this case, he's just using as a skating. Interesting product, isn't it? There is another way you can innovate, just modifying. Take a look at this video. If you modify the existing size, this product become more useful. It got expanded, it got modified, it become bigger. Again, if you're planning to buy a laptop, you would love to buy this laptop because it has got a more screen within the same space. This is another way of innovating, which is putting to another use. So in this case, this particular Airbnb house is designed, creating, yeah, look at this Airbnb house. Previously, these were the containers, ship containers. Now they converted ship containers into house. How beautiful it is. You are putting ship containers to another use. We already know one of the use of containers, but we are using it for another use that happens to be as a hotel. Eliminate, in the sense you remove something from the existing product or existing solution so that product become much more innovative or novel or new. This is basically this fan. What they eliminated blades. Whenever I say fan, most of the time what comes to your mind, blades. This particular product design, the removed blade, that is the novelty. And most of the parents would love to buy this if they have a small children at home, because there are no blade. If the child puts their hand, it doesn't hurt or cut. This is another idea. What exactly it is, take a look at it. It's quite interesting. This guy is coming to your home. Look at this. Got the point. That airport check-in from your own home, even issuing tickets and taking your luggage. This is a fantastic. Now just walk into airport just with your ticket. You don't need to carry anything. Instead of you going to airport is coming to you. That's the beauty of it. By now you saw that there are 7 ways you can innovate. You see that all those innovative things which are happening in the society, they are helping business to grow. Yeah, that's a part of business. Now, those are the innovation ideation stage. The 4th stage is prototyping stage, wherein you do a low fidelity and high fidelity prototyping. What exactly it is? Prototyping, you know that you create a small dummy. When you have an idea, you translate that into dummy. If you're making a car, you create the whole drawing of the car. Yeah, you start with a sketch, then you start making a clay dummy in a real size, then you finish it. Even consider the interior material. All of this comes under prototyping. Got the point. The prototyping is important. These are 2 types of prototype. One is low fidelity. You might use a simple hand-drawn prototype. High fidelity, this is basically more realistic. You're using a softwares to create. And as I said, in the car industry, you start from low to high. You start with a drawing, then you create a clay dummy of that car. Then you create an actual size of the car. Then you create a working prototype. The 5th one is a testing. The fifth stage, there are two more techniques, A/B testing and usability testing. A/B testing, you create a tool design, you do a consumer test, you figure out which one is getting more attraction, A or B. So in these two, you can see B is getting more attraction. Yeah. User test, if there is a product, you give that product to consumer, ask them to use the product, then you ask questions. Hey, what do they like about product? What are the features they like about product? Got the point. These are the 5 step-by-step methodology for innovation. And each of these methods, we have further tools to apply to achieve results. In empathy research, we have learned interview empathy mapping. In define stage, we learn user persona, and you have to define problem statement. And ideation, we learned mind mapping and scamper technique. In prototyping, we learned low fidelity, high fidelity. In testing, we learned A/B testing and usability test. Got the point? So these are the 5 steps, and each of those steps we looked at techniques which you can apply to come up with needful solutions. These 5 steps helped us to come up with the squeezy bottle. So squeezy bottle is a human desirability. As a human, we all wanted to have this easy to take out bottle. And of course, the high-ends, they bought a machinery to produce this bottle. Because of this new structure, their sales up 25% compared to their bottle classic.